Good old days when I used to see this guy and ask him questions, several at a time, and he would just talk endlessly, and I thought it would never end. Now I wish it didn't end. That's what's gonna happen. What do you guys got? Yeah, yeah. I'll be in this room um, with some 3D printer cutouts of each individual, talking to you, having laugh machines. All right, stay loose. Um, I have I do see a reality where I could be inspired to adjust the tempo of tomorrow, uh, not the actual occurrence of tomorrow. Tomorrow will still exist for sure, um, but uh, I I kind of leave that open to the players, and what type of painters do we have at the canvas? Are they going to inspire me to paint a different picture for tomorrow? That we'll see. But um, I think the most important thing is that I think the spring can be made out to be a lot of different things. You can make it what your collective group decides to make it. And if at any time you're getting things out of a May or June day that has residuals for the regular season, that's the kind of litmus test. And I've been seeing that littered um, through our orchestrations of practice yesterday. It was really good. And so, you know, whether I hope or the players hope or both, that intentionality today is what we're looking for. And um, we don't get it right, we got another opportunity. There's so much stuff right there that I love. I think um, there there's a whole balancing act when you're trying to orchestrate football without pads. However, this balancing act, if you prove adept at it, is monumental over the course of the season. You're talking about having to um, not have pads on to get football work, and you do the math on how many allocated padded practices you have during the season. Bottom line is, if you're a good football team, you have to be able to play football without pads well, and that takes an orchestration of understanding technique fundamentals, but also how to protect the team. And there's a fine line. You're trying to achieve hat placement, and you're trying to, maintain your gap, but not trying to bury your teammate if you have them in a vulnerable position. All of those things are a work in progress. I pretty much talk about it daily to the team, how we can and show clips on how we can execute our fundamentals and technique while protecting each other. And I think it's a little more complicated on the edges of the defense, particularly the way that we attack defenses offensively and we attack offenses defensively. It's kind of a similar mindset of who's going to set the edge. So you have to do a lot of orchestration in terms of teaching on how to get stuff out of it and not develop bad habits, but get better. And then internally, the biggest thing is not having the competitive fires fuel things that don't help us play football well. What do I mean by that? Holding when you get leveraged, or shoving a guy that's maybe at an impasse right around the ball carrier. Those types of things. You have to really put the team first while in a competitive individual situation. So it's really good teaching because the benefits of it you see throughout the entire NFL season. Well, So the head to toe camo for him has worked well. You guys haven't seen him? He's been right in the middle of the field. Um, no, I think these are always funny. Everybody's excited to see players when they first get here, specifically, and a player of that caliber. Everybody's pumped up. But systematically, what we try to do is learn the player and adjust to their and develop a relationship with them and adjust to their body on their timeline, so we can have the most beneficial communicative relationship of maintaining health. Long story short, the working into playing with the Miami Dolphins, between myself and Kyle, we decided that you guys were going to have to wait. But that's just due to the individual process that we're very consistent with when new guys come to the team. We take nothing of assumption and make sure that when guys are on the field, there's no setbacks, and we're obviously applying that to him. No, I mean it's not like Kane's shirt, but you got Kane's colors on. I mean, I know, dude. I'm saying, but it's like no disrespect. It's more that Andre Johnson went to the U, and just recognizing, strong question. You've been on tilt for this, haven't you? You've been holding that in the holster, because I love the example of a very talented player that made the most of his NFL career, that has no regrets because he combined that talent with ambition and desire of development. 2006, we got to Houston, and I'll never forget it. You can, I give him a hard time whenever I see him, but that first year in 2006, he obviously great player. He's the best player on our team and did some great stuff for us. But the whole year as position coach, Kyle Shanahan would just show him Steve Smith highlights and how he caught the ball, and it just used to irritate Andre. And so that first off season we ever had him, like our first going into our second year, he went into the lab, went and trained, and came back like almost a man on a mission just to prove Kyle wrong about how he was catching the ball, and oh, Steve Smith does this, okay, I'll do this. And he came out the gate 2007, 2 really strong games, ended up getting injured, came back, had a good season, and then had the career-changing numbers the following season in 2008. So you watched it live speed happen. You watched him do it through work, tied with unbelievable gifts. I think for all players, I wouldn't be doing an injustice at all by really looking at the way Andre handled his career and making that the standard for how people, you have whatever talents you have available to you, and regardless of how talented that is, being able to bridge that, to maximize those talents by the way you approach the game, it's inspiring. He was the first player that I ever was fortunate enough to be around that was the best talent and the hardest worker. Well, 2006, that was two-part. At the prime of his Steve Smith's career, he was doing a ton of things with Yak based on how he caught the ball. So he's a smaller dude, but he would aggressively attack slants with his hands. Andre had great hands, but he would catch with his body, all things even at that time. And so then showing the residual effects of how Steve caught the ball, both annoyed and motivated Dre, to the point of a lot of hours of training. And the great thing was, Dre, you proved us wrong. We win, you know? So everybody won. It was good. No, I think we are very fortunate to have a group of running backs that, really from across the board. It's hard to even say top to bottom because there's such great competition, and you wouldn't be doing justice to the entire group if you were trying to crown this person or that person. But the whole group, pretty much led by Raheem, it is of quality and depth as good as I've been around, and been around a lot of good groups. I think, there's the position in general. We have a lot of skill sets that their ability to affect the game is multiple. So that we've been getting a lot of the guys different work within the offense at different places, just to kind of expand their game. I think that I've literally spent zero time trying to forecast that room because I recognize supreme competition when I see it. And the great news is, instead of saying what I believe or forecast, I get to just watch and allow the players to determine all that for us. And I know one thing: we're going to get the best version of each individual because of that room and the way they embrace the competition while encouraging each other, and the having a strong relationship with teammates within that position group is non-negotiable for those guys. All of those guys really, really lean into the fact of, we want everyone to do their best, and that's where I want to succeed, not because somebody else fails. And so I think that character, there's residuals to that. I think that for your team, that's a big deal when you have competition that's healthy, because that's you get the best versions of people, and it manifests itself across a lot of positions, I think. So that's a tricky thing that we try to break down here with our coach to player relationships. And what I mean by that, correction or a caveat to your game means that's bad. Okay, so you're trying to, for us in this off season, is establish the healthy relationship boundaries of, no, you want a coach to have something to help you, and you want that whatever, not criticism, more attention to your game. And whether it comes in a negative or positive light, if you're constantly bringing up how people respond and paying attention to that, and they can feel that it's more about, like for me, I want to see the next target towards a receiver after he drops a pass. I'm much less concerned about that pass that he dropped in the spring. I know he's trying to catch it. So, but what I do find out that you can't really substitute is, all right, well, when something bad happens, which will inevitably happen every single time he plays football, how is he going to respond? And players start to understand from each position that that's what we're focused on. You get the right type of energy that's not short-term result-based. Or if it's assignment. We're trying to attack things with a game-like mentality more so than our opponents, and then work through those residual added game reps is the whole kind of mindset. And I think practice becomes real fun when you're using it, not having it define you for the short term. You know, the man, I would have an ulcer and a panic attack if I tried to forecast anything that comes to my plate on a daily basis. I think so. I haven't extrapolated in that way. What we've been focused on is communicating with each other, and all right, so the knowns are that to his representation in our front office are negotiating a contract. As a player, Tua, and myself as a coach, okay, what should our focus be on? Well, right, wrong, or indifferent, we're going to be held accountable for the ultimate product. Okay, and whatever way you want to see it, the piper has to be paid, so to speak. So how can we make sure that we are delivering on what we're bound and determined as non-negotiable of developing this offseason? And within, okay, well, maybe it makes more sense to, in this situation, all right, do 7-on-7 or pass. Well, that is an opportunity if you take more reps, if we're identifying specific things within our game that we're trying to improve. That can't be a complete substitution over time. So there is something at some point that, I think it's important for us to communicate about and get in front of when we're not able to follow through with our ultimate objectives. But that's what him and I have discussed. I think we've found ways to do that in our current orchestration, and that is not, like everything in life, infinite. At some point in time, that will be important. But for me to think, okay, is that even on the radar for being a possibility of an issue like that? I'm not worried about that being the case. I also can't say that wouldn't be the case. I try to stay in my lane to do what Tua is counting on me to do, which is get him better in every way, shape, and form. And that's what we'll be doing today. See, I'm stuck. Like, I'm okay not being the tallest guy or the most physically imposing, but like to have like a lesser joke, and I caught wind of Reeks, and that was so strong. Like I was literally mad. Like, man, I should have thought of that joke. It's so topical. Woke you up there. But I think these are when your standard is that the same is worse, and you're trying to chase the best version of yourself. You find different things that it wasn't like we were problem solving last off season. He went full tilt into that rendered some great results. There was also some residuals of unintended consequences of the strength, and honestly, it's Tua just trying to find another level of his game and another level of being a professional, and seeing ways that he could maintain the strength, but create, some more flexibility and power, or however you want to look at it. And it wasn't like to correct something that needed fixed. It was an opportunity to get better, in his mind, I think, and ultimately, um, you know, we'll see how he does at read option, and if he's trying to be an option quarterback. How svelte is svelte, but anything that helps you attack your job and solve problems that he is more aware of now than he was last year or the year before, just in terms of being a problem solver at your position, and you learn different things, you find value in different things. I think it's just him maturing as a professional and really going after the annual off season. How do we get better, not if. The it was a very concrete thing we were trying to solve last year with regard to physical preparation. That was his ability to play, to be available, and as much as he can. But more importantly, for him to have the life that he wants and play the quarterback position, how to keep himself healthy, and identified the ground as the big opponent that we had to defeat. We saw unbelievable results in terms of every situation that he was presented with. He was able to apply the technique, and he had the strength to do it. So you don't know what that is. It was uncharted territory to kind of like, work on training stunt doubles or something. Like how to fall. That was uncharted territory. Well, you establish the strength and how to protect yourself. Now you can go back to what are the things that help me do my job to maximum ability. Again, not shortchanging any sort of strength. I think he is he's really taken his diet serious, and he hasn't done things to lose weight. He's done things to be in shape, and he's. I would be pumped about where he's at now. Maybe predisposed to a hair of body shaming from last year if he wanted to retroactively, but he was doing. To be fair though, like not many people were going about things that way, to be as proactive with something of that nature, jiu-jitsu. And I mean, he was training jiu-jitsu and calling it something else, I think, at one point, judo, right? But like he really went after it. Then you find out new things. Just like every year, we are trying our best to do the best football plays, and we learn more about football plays and defenses and stuff, and we do new plays next year a little bit. That maturation, I think it's an example of how he is as a professional, understanding what his job is to the team and the franchise, and he's going after it, controlling all the things that he can control.
Appreciate you, Mike.